welcome to my channel. I'm Chiara, and in today's video I'm going to talk about school with a disability. So if you don't know, when I was 2 and 10 months I suffered a stroke resulting in right side hemiplegia, and I will link a full video about my disability and here down below so you can go watch it. So I have a physical disability and I have some learning difficulties, so I thought today I would do a little series on school with a disability. So the first video I'm going to do is on primary school, and then I'm going to do one on secondary school, and then I might do 2 on university because I left home for university, so I was thinking I could do one on the academic side and one on living on your own at university with a disability. So yeah, so if you like these kind of videos and you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-hand tasks, and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. The subscribe button will be below. So yeah, so now let me talk about primary school if I can remember, because I'm 25 and primary school was a long time ago. So let's get into this video. Okay, so primary school. So primary school, you go to primary school from the age of 5 to 11. So I had help throughout primary school, and I had a TA, so a teaching assistant they call them, and she sat next to me. It was 1-to-1 and she helped me read and write. I think I had maybe 3 or 4 on rotation. I can't actually remember. And they would read for me and write for me, and that was it. And they would sit next to me throughout the class. Throughout, I think, all classes I had them, throughout all the classes. So yeah, that was good, I guess. So yeah. And I was the only disabled child. I was the only disabled child with a physical disability in my primary school. I went to a very small primary school. There was probably about 180 students in the whole school, so that's really tiny. So my pockets are annoying me. That's like really tiny. So yeah, I went to a school like that, which was nice, but again, I was the only a child with a physical disability in my school. I feel like a few people had like dyslexia, but no one really had like a physical disability. So I did kind of like, would I say I stood out? No, but I think it was hard because there was a lot of things I wasn't allowed to do for like safety reasons, or just like reasons that now looking back I would be like, why wouldn't you let me do that? So like one of them, let me have a look because I wrote some notes on my phone and I just want to like check so I get this right. So I said I've had help, and I said, so I wasn't allowed to walk up and down the stairs. And this kind of went throughout my whole school career until I got to university, and they were like, well, that's a ridiculous rule. I think actually I got to college and they were like, that's a bit pointless. Anyway, so I wasn't allowed to walk up and down the stairs without a teacher there to help me. Like, they would walk behind me if I was walking up the stairs, and they would walk in front of me if I was walking down the stairs, just in case I fell. But I mean, no, so it was either a teacher or a teaching assistant, an adult basically. My mum was allowed to do it. So yeah, basically it had to be an adult. Which, I mean, when I got to like, it was fine when I was in primary school, when I was in the lower school, so like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and then year 5 and 6 the classrooms were upstairs. So it seemed a bit, to me it just seemed a bit pointless because I understand like it was a safety issue, but at the same time it's like, I walked up and down the stairs alone by myself at home. So I didn't really understand why at school it was a problem, because like I said, there was only like 180 children in my school. So it was like a very small school. So for me it was like really, if I took it really slow, like would it be a problem? I don't know. So that kind of like really frustrated me, because like I would have to like wait until someone came to get me, or like my friends would have to go up and get a teacher and then bring my teacher back down. Like someone in the classroom would have, so that was really frustrating. So basically we would go swimming. I do have my phone. So we would go swimming some days, and they have like, in most leisure centres in England, if you've never been to a leisure centre in England, I'm going to explain swimming pools to you. So they have like a small pool, which is considered like, I guess it would be called the baby pool, but it's like all like a 1 level pool, like it's flat, like it's all 1 level, like it doesn't get deeper in the deep end. It's not like, it doesn't go from shallow to deep, if you know what I mean. And then they have the big, most of them are 25 meters, and they have, and they get slightly deeper, they get quite a lot deeper, and they go from shallow to deep. So I was only allowed in the small pool, and I was only allowed in there, and then when they had we had free play time, like at the end of swimming, so I'm gonna put my phone down. I was allowed in the big pool, but I was only allowed in the shallow end, and if you've ever seen like a swimming pool, they have like flags to indicate like 5 meters at like each end, and I was only allowed up to the 5 meter bit on the flags. I wasn't allowed further, whether all the other children were allowed to swim up and down, and it was fine. And they never moved me up. They never let me progress throughout the swimming thing, because we started swimming I think year 4, and they would never put me in a big pool. Like, it was so frustrating, and realistically you just wouldn't let me do it. Like why? Answer me this, primary school, why? I get like it's a safety reason, and it may be a safety reason to do with the swimming pool, but the swimming pool has lifeguards. It's not like I wasn't gonna like drown, but I wasn't even allowed to like try to like see if I could swim that. I was like, no, she can't do it because she only has one arm and one leg, and that really, really frustrated me, because it's like swimming is actually a sport I can do, and I really enjoy it, so I do it now. So it's like, maybe you should have like been a little bit more encouraging. But you know, anyway, we move on, and then there's more about my primary school experience. So as well as that, in assembly we had to all sit. So like the students would all sit on the floor, and this kind of made me feel a bit more out. This was more like being out of place as well. So they would all sit on the floor, and I wasn't. I got to sit on a chair in assembly, but I was like, because we would all line up in alphabetical order, or we would just line up and go into assembly, I was always like in the middle of assembly, like because of my surname. I was always like in the middle, so it was like there'd be all these children sat on the floor, and then there'd be me, and then another set, and it was like really weird, and I like just felt really uncomfortable sat on this chair and being like this, and then all the other children like sat on the floor like in front of me, in the middle, and behind me. Like, it wasn't as bad in like year 6, because I think in year 6 we would do it in like rows of like rows of like year groups. That's the word, year groups. So they had year reception, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. So as I got older, I got pushed more to the back, but I did kind of feel a bit like out of place. I mean, I got to sit on a chair instead of a floor, which was good, but I kind of still felt like quite out of place, because it was like, I wasn't allowed to like sit on the floor. Like, it wasn't like, I don't know. I felt quite uncomfortable like being sat on this chair, like why everyone else sat on the floor. But I don't know. That's just me, and that was my experience. And then, so we had in our like computer room, we had spinny chairs like this. I'm going to spin on my chair. We had spinny chairs like this, and I wasn't allowed to sit on them because my teachers felt it was a distraction for me to sit on a spinny chair. But the other little children, like the other children from like year 4, year 5, year 6, were allowed to sit on them. So I had to sit on like a normal chair. They had to bring in a normal chair. It was actually our head teacher's assembly chair, and I was the only person who was allowed to sit on it other than him, or if someone else was doing the assembly. And so I would get this like normal, like, what do you call it, a normal chair? A chair that doesn't spin. I don't know what the correct term is. And they had wheels as well, these chairs. But I wasn't allowed to sit on them because apparently it was considered a distraction for me. But all the other children who were like year 5s, or like year 5 or year 4, but it's not a distraction for them, it's just a distraction for me because I'm disabled. Like, I don't get that. So that kind of like really like vexed me as well, because I didn't understand like why I wasn't allowed to sit on that chair. So to this day, I don't know. So can somebody please answer that? I don't know. It just seems a bit weird because like most children get distracted if you give them a spinny chair. I mean, I still do. Like, I still spin on my chair. So it's like, why were they worried I was going to fall off if I span too fast? I don't really know. Like, it kind of really like frustrated me. Like, as I got older and I would go in there with like my helpers, like if I went by myself, with my helpers. My helpers would sometimes let me sit on them, but the teacher were like, no, you need a non-spinny chair. So that was really weirdly decided for some bizarre reason. And then, what else was there? Oh yeah, did I tell you in PE they used to give me a head start? Not in PE, so we used to do sports days. They would give me a head start in like all the races. So I'm looking out a window. It's like really distracting. See, I still get distracted. Clearly it's like a thing. Give me a head start in PE. In PE on sports day. Not PE. They used to give me a head start in sports day. Let's see what else there is on here that I've got written down. Hold on. So I've told you about sitting in assembly, sitting on the floor. I always had, oh yeah, and I always kind of had packed lunches in primary school, but I don't think that was because I didn't like, that was because I didn't like the school dinners, not because I didn't want the school dinners, but I couldn't carry a tray anyway because a tray's like that. I couldn't carry that. So that was fine, but my brother had. I have a brother who's a couple years older than me, and he had packed lunch in primary school too, but then he left primary school. Actually, I know what else I was going to say. When I first moved, because I went to 2 primary schools, but so the first one I went to, I had like no friends, and I probably should have told you this in the beginning, but we'll tell you this now. So I had like no friends, and I would hang out with my brother because he was there. And so if you have a sibling, just hang out with their friends. It's fine. There's my piece of advice for people who are struggling to make friends. Hang out with your siblings' friends. If they don't let you, they don't let you. I just kind of like forced myself upon my brother's friends, I feel. So I used to hang out. So then in the first school I didn't have any friends. So I used to hang out with my brother's friends. And then we moved because we just moved schools because we moved house. We moved towns, so let's just say that. We moved. All of us moved. So then I went to the school that I was just talking about in the beginning, because I came in year 4, maybe year 3. I would hang out with the year 6s because my brother was in year 6, so I'd hang out with the year 6s because like I found like it really hard to make friends at primary school. Like it was just very hard, and like obviously being a very small school, it was very hard. And I think I had a buddy because they had like buddy systems. And I think I had a buddy in year 6 who I used to hang out with, and I would hang out with all the year 6s. And then I started making friends in my year group, and that was fine. But it wasn't like the most easiest like to make friends, I think. No one ever like said anything about my disability, but it was like quite hard. I mean, I liked primary school, like I did like school. Like I don't want you to think like this is like a video where I'm just bashing my school, because it's not. But I think primary school was probably like easier than secondary school, definitely, and like university. But I did find, because I went to such a small primary school, but I did find it quite like hard with like, obviously I couldn't read, so I didn't do that. I think I did try reading at primary school. I can't really remember. Those are like really the only points that like I was talking to my mum about, and like that really like stood out to me. Those are the things that really stood out, and that I thought were a bit unfair, and like maybe they shouldn't have done that because I had a disability. Those are mainly the points, but overall primary school was quite good, and like I had quite a lot of friends in primary school, but making friends was still quite hard. And I think my friends didn't necessarily like ask if I had like anything wrong with me. I think with little children it's slightly different. Like when you're younger it's slightly different. I think it's when you get to like secondary school and like university it becomes slightly, which is weird because like you think, and children are mean, I mean children are cruel, but I don't think it was ever like a real problem in my school because it was such a small school. It was like 180 children. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say on my experience in primary school. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching my video on my experience with primary school and going into primary school. So if you did enjoy, please like and comment. And if you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-handed tasks, and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. See you next time. Bye.